everybody, welcome back to another session of the Hopry. My name is Starr, and tonight I'm going to go back in time just a little bit. Now, I've got a beer that I want to share with you guys that I had for the first time a little over a year or a year and a half or so ago. There's a local pizza shop here in the Kansas City area called Waldo Pizza, and I mean, they have the best pizza I've ever had. And so my wife and I went in there one day for a lunch, and I think it was a Sunday, of all days, but we're sitting there, getting ready to order pizza, and our server came up and, asked what, he could get us to drink. And I, politely asked, what kind of stouts do you have in? And the first question he asked me was, well, do you like bourbon? And I said, yeah, I really like bourbon a lot, as a matter of fact. So he's like, well, we got the new Bourbon County Stout in by Goose Island. I wasn't that familiar with it at the time, and I was like, you know what, sure, bring me one of those. So, we proceed to, have a conversation, my wife and I, and a couple minutes later, here he comes and starts pouring this beer for me. And, as he's pouring the beer, and mind you, I'm sitting down and he's kind of standing above me pouring this beer, I can already smell this beer, and I'm looking at my wife like, wow, what have I gotten myself into? So I could smell that bourbon. I could smell the heat. As soon as he put it down and I put my nose in it, I was completely perplexed, started laughing, really excited about the beer. So that one that I had at that time was a 2007 vintage, which is what I have for you today. This is 2007. The reason why I wanted to share it with you now, though, is that I just started seeing the 2009s starting to come out in the liquor stores around town here. So, the 2008s were, the same way, really strong, really potent. I'm sure the 09s are like that as well. But I haven't gone back to revisit these 07s lately, and, that's what I wanted to do with this beer, is just kind of go back in time a little bit and see how well this thing has mellowed out over the course of pretty much a couple of years. So I'm going to go ahead and pour a little bit of this in here, and let's see what we got going on. So let me move that over there. Hopefully you can see that. So I can already start to smell it, which is a good sign, and a pretty obvious sign for this beer, to be honest with you. But first we'll talk about the color. I mean, it's like squid ink black. I don't think there is a blacker beer than this. I have seen a couple. There's like the McKellar Black and other things like that. But, I mean, this is traditional, Imperial Stout Black. You can see there's hardly any head on this. The head's got kind of a red and orange sort of tint to it. Really not a whole lot going on there, but let's go ahead and stick our nose in. So this actually smells a lot smoother than I remember it the first time I ever had it. Getting lots of bourbon, obviously, and bourbon meaning that it's aged in bourbon barrels. So I get that sort of it's kind of like a vanilla vanilla toffee chocolatey sort of smell. Definitely getting those really dark roasted malts in there as well. In fact, and I'll try to review this one, maybe pretty soon. I did send Barry one of these up in New York recently. But this kind of smells a lot like the Bell's Expedition Stout. The Bell's Expedition Stout actually reminds me a lot of this beer, with the exception of the fact that it's not aged in the bourbon barrels. So either way, you're dealing with a really strong, heavy-hitting Imperial Stout here. And I really love the nose. I mean, there's just tons of caramel, tons of roasted coffee. I mean, the coffee is so roasted in this and so, kind of complex that it almost goes to the point of being kind of tart on the nose. But, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and give it a taste. Wow. Well, the first thing that I'm going to tell you is that these are definitely good to hang on to for a couple of years. If I were to try the 09 today, I have a feeling it would just be blasting me with the heat of alcohol right now. And you know, that was kind of one of the things that I remember about this beer, is how hot it was on the palate. You know, you could open your mouth when you tasted it, and you could just feel the alcohol fumes kind of zapping your eyeballs. And I don't really get that with the 07, so that's a really positive thing. And I think that's pretty common for a lot of Imperial Stouts. You know, you give them a little bit of time and they'll, you know, kind of calm down a little bit. So I took a drink, you know, maybe 20, 30 seconds ago, and I'm really getting a lot of the sticky, caramely coffee notes just still coating the inside of my mouth. And when I say the inside of my mouth, I mean my tongue, my cheeks, my teeth, my lips. My lips are even a little bit sticky right now. And you know, this is a beer that, I don't know if I mentioned or not, it's 13% alcohol. So, you know, once you start getting over that, you know, 10, 11, 12, and, you know, 13% like this, you really start talking about some heavy beers. Beers that have a lot of viscosity, meaning they're kind of chewy. But, you know, that's how this one is to me a lot. And it's definitely a, you know, a sipper beer. This is not something you just pour in a glass and, you know, drink in about 10, 15 minutes. This is the kind of beer you come home, you know, turn on a Monday night football game and drink it throughout the first half. You know, it's a good hour and a half beer, to be honest with you. Now, obviously, if you can bring a friend over and share it, that's probably even a better way to enjoy it. But I mean, you know, even as I sit here and talk, I mean, this thing is just really sticking to my palate. But I'm really happy with this. To be honest with you, I'm probably twice as happy with the beer with about 2 years age on it than I am a fresh batch. So, you know, if you're somebody who is just now getting into craft beers and wanting to know, you know, how do I know when to age a beer? How do I know when to not age a beer? You know, the general rule is the higher the alcohol content, the longer it will age. But this beer is perfect for aging. In fact, I'd be curious to. I've still got a couple of these, and I might hang on to them until the next time, or till this time next year. You know, bust one of them open and, you know, see how far it's gone. Hell, I may even do a vertical tasting next year just to, you know, kind of see what the 07, 08, and 09 look like, you know, in the same tasting. Though I'll probably have to have somebody come over and do that one with me, because I'll literally be passed out on the floor if I drank 3 of these in one sitting. So let me give it one last taste here. And I did want to point out that, you know, this beer, Goose Island, does come from Chicago. I'm a huge Cubs fan. I'd like to give my you know, my buddies Ken and the other guys over at Ken and Brad, actually, at the Hopcast. They're from Chicago. I'm sure, you know, they probably have great lives living in Chicago. Lots to do, lots of Cubs games to go to. You got the Map Room. What else? The Hop Leaf. Peace in Chicago, Goose Island here. Lots to do in Chicago, but really admire those guys for what they're doing on their webcast, and for the fact that they get to live in Chicago, and I don't. Maybe one day. We'll see. But anyway, really enjoying this Goose Island Bourbon County Stout from 2007. I'm going to go ahead and end it now, and, you know, maybe pour a little bit more in here, and hell, I may even share a little bit of this with my wife. It might you know, put her down for a really good night's sleep. So anyway, if you're following me at Twitter, you can go to twitter.com/thehopry, or always go to my website, www.thehopry.com. My name is Mark Starr, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.